Hi, good afternoon. Today I'm going to be giving a little breakdown of the labor certification PERM process. I always receive a lot of questions about this process. I think there's a lot of confusion about how it works, what the requirements are. So what I want to do is I want to break down each stage of the process to make it very clear and kind of demystify a little bit how the process works. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through stage 1, which is the labor certification PERM stage, stage 2, which is the I-140 stage, and stage 3, the adjustment of status or consular process stage. So starting with stage 1, the labor certification PERM process. What we have to do when we're filing a labor certification is we need to show the Department of Labor that the company, right, so this process is initiated by a company here in the United States, made an effort to find personnel to fill a position that they have open. And through making an effort to find someone to fill this position, they were unable to. And what we do here is we have to follow the steps provided by the Department of Labor. So as part of this first stage, what we do first is we request what's called the prevailing wage. And the prevailing wage is the salary that must be paid to this employee based on the location of the position, the requirements for the position, and the position title, right? So what we do is we take a look at, okay, this is the position open. These are the requirements for the position. Maybe the employer requires a bachelor's degree. Maybe they require a master's degree. Maybe they require a certain numbers of experience. Maybe it's specific certifications that are required for the position. So what we do is we submit an explanation of the job position with all the requirements to the Department of Labor, and we say, okay, this is the job title, this is the job description, these are the requirements for the position, and this is the location that this job will take place in. And the Department of Labor is going to come back with a salary. And they're going to say, okay, based on the location, the county that you're in, based on the job title, based on the complexity of the duties, how many people this person's supervising, this is the salary that needs to be paid for the position. Once we have that salary, we get to move forward to the next stage. And the next stage is doing the advertisements. We do all the advertisements that are required by the Department of Labor. So the Department of Labor tells us, okay, you have to do what's called a notice of filing. It's a document that's pasted on the wall at the employer's break room, for example, listing the open position that they have and allowing people to apply, giving people the opportunity to apply for this open position. We're going to do newspaper ads. Sometimes if it's a professional position, which you have to work closely with your attorney to figure out if it's a professional position or a non-professional position, but professional positions require even more advertisement. So sometimes that means doing a radio ad, doing a smaller newspaper, like a local newspaper ad. Maybe it means doing some type of recruitment process. So really it depends on your case, and it's important to work with your attorney on figuring out which advertisements are necessary based on your position, whether it's professional or non-professional, and based on the location that you're in. Once you have all those advertisements done, there's a waiting period. So there's a 30-day waiting period, which is giving applicants the opportunity to apply. And what happens is if there are applicants who apply, the employer has to do a bona fide process of interviewing those applicants to see if they truly qualify for the position. So once the employer determines that no one qualified for them, none of the applicants qualified for the position, or maybe there were no applicants, then they get to move forward to what's called presenting the labor certification, otherwise known as the PERM. And it's a form that's filled out by the employer, and it's submitted to the Department of Labor. And what it does is it says, this is the position I have available, I did the prevailing wage, I did all the advertisements, here are all the advertisements that we did. We weren't able to find someone, so what we want to do is we want to sponsor this other individual, and we want to sponsor them for the green card process. And so the labor certification process means that the Department of Labor is going to review all of that information, and then hopefully at the end they're going to say, okay, we're going to certify your labor certification. And when they do certify your labor certification, they send you in the mail a green paper that says this document has been certified. And that paper is really important because we need that to move forward to stage 2 with immigration, USCIS. So when we move forward to stage 2, we take that original green document and we submit it to USCIS and we say, look, here's the labor certification process that was done. And in addition to that, this is what we have to show you, right? So there's several requirements, several documents that USCIS wants to see. One, they want to see that the employer, so the company that's sponsoring the individual, for the employee for this position, truly is able to pay the salary. This is called ability to pay. There's several ways to show ability to pay. It can include, for example, showing the company's net income on their latest US tax return. It can include showing the company's net assets on their latest US tax return. It can mean, for example, if the prospective employee is already employed with the company who's sponsoring them, because that's not mandatory, but if they are employed by that company, for example, they're here on an H-1B and they're already working with the company, or maybe they're on OPT, they just finished school and they have their 1 year of OPT and they're already working with the company, they can show that the company is already paying them this salary, and so based on that, they're able to continue paying that salary. Okay, there are a few other ways, but those are the primary ways that ability to pay is shown. So the company is going to want to show that they have the ability to pay, and then in addition to that, they're going to want to show that this prospective employee who they're filing this case for meets all the requirements of the position. So we go way back to the beginning when we requested that prevailing wage, and there were special requirements or certifications or numbers of years of experience or education level that was required, and we want to make sure that we show that this individual that they're sponsoring meets all those requirements. So that can mean including a copy of their diploma. It can mean including letters of experience confirming that they have the number of years of experience that are necessary. It can mean including copies of their certifications that were necessary. Okay, and all of that's going to be submitted to USCIS. So for this stage 2, there is a way to speed up the process. Normally, processing times can be anywhere from 9 months to 12 months, depending on where you're located, and that number is constantly changing, so it's important to always check the processing times. But there is, for this stage, the opportunity to do what's called premium processing. And with an extra fee, right now, USCIS charges $2,500 for that fee. They provide you a response within 15 days guaranteed. So you can really save a lot of time with this stage 2 in selecting that premium processing option and receiving your response in 15 days. So in 15 days, they tell you that the case has either been approved, that they're requesting additional evidence, or maybe they have an intention to deny the case, but within 15 days, you're gonna know what's happening. Okay, and in 15 days, let's say they request something else, you forgot to include a diploma, they're gonna request that diploma. They give you 90 days to respond to that request usually. And then you submit that, and then what happens? Once we have this approval, we get to move to stage 3. We move to stage 3, and this is going to depend on whether the individual, the prospective employee that the company is sponsoring, is located here in the United States or is outside of the United States. So if they're here in the United States on valid non-immigrant status, for example, on an H-1B or on OPT, what can be done is an adjustment of status. And that means you're adjusting their status, for example, from H-1B non-immigrant visa holder to a U.S. permanent resident. And that means that that individual can remain here in the United States while the process is pending. Right now we're seeing you can request a work authorization as part of that process. You can request a travel authorization as part of that process. We're seeing in our office, in our practice, that usually the travel authorization and work authorization is taking around 5 to 6 months after the submission of the adjustment of status. So we can go through with either that process. The individual will have, usually will have an interview at a local field office where they live, that's gonna ask them basic questions about personal information, their background, any security questions that are necessary, and then their employment background. If the individual is outside of the United States, which that happens, we have a lot of clients who complete this process from outside the United States, it's called a consular process. And then what's done with that type of consular process is the documents are submitted to the National Visa Center, the NVC. And then once all the documents are submitted to the NVC, then the individual, the prospective employee, will receive an appointment date at the embassy in the country that they live in. So for example, if they live in Colombia, they will receive what we would request an appointment at the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, Colombia. If the individual lives in Buenos Aires, Argentina, we would request an appointment at the embassy in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So that's really gonna depend on where the individual lives. It's important to consult with your immigration attorney for that stage. And that's really what the process looks like. So if we're looking at timing, right, a lot of the time I get questions about timing. Stage 1 with the Department of Labor is a lengthy process right now. So I see that the whole stage 1 takes about a year right now. And if we look at the breakdown, it's going to be the prevailing wage, which is taking more or less 4 to 5 months right now. It can take longer, it can take shorter, depending on your case. Then is the required advertisements, which take a minimum of 30 days. Then there's the 30-day waiting period, and then there's the labor certification component, which is taking around 4 to 5 months as well right now. So if you look, it's around a year. It could be a little bit more, it could be less. When you move to stage 2, if you move forward with that premium processing option, it's only 15 days. If you don't, we're looking at around 9 to 12 months, but this is constantly changing, so make sure to check the USCIS case processing times. And then lastly, stage 3, which will depend on whether it's a consular process or whether it's an adjustment of status. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our phone number is 305-563-1977. Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. We wanted to provide you with a quick update we just received from USCIS. As of October 1st, all forms I-693 medical exams will have to include proof that you are vaccinated against COVID-19. So that means if you've already conducted your medical exam, you should go ahead and submit as soon as possible, because as of October 1st, all medical exams will have this required component of the COVID-19 vaccination proof. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Our phone number is 305-563-1977.